welcome to Book with Kiba, the podcast where we talk about books, reading culture, and all the opinions that come with being emotionally attached to fictional characters. I'm your host, Kiba. And whether you're reading on a Kindle, listening to an audiobook, or trying to get out of a reading slump, you're in the right place. So let's get booked. Today's episode is a little bit more personal to me because we're going to be talking about my current reading mood or reading habits that I do have right now. So, how do I choose my books? Do I stick to a TBR? How many books do I read at once? One, what do I do when I'm in a reading slump? And how my reading habits have changed over the years. If you've ever wondered what my reading life actually looks like behind the reviews and recommendation, this is the episode for you. So let's get into it. I'm officially a mood reader. I think the biggest thing about my reading habits right now is that I'm 100% a mood reader. I used to think that I could stick to a strict reading plan. I would make these ambitious TBRs and tell myself that, hey, I'm going to read 10 books for this month. And that went down the drain. Then I get to the first book and immediately want to read something completely different. So now I've accepted who I am, and it's so good to be to finally accept who I am. If I wake up wanting to read fantasy, I'm going to read a fantasy book. If I want to read romance, I go and read a romance. If I suddenly decide that a thriller or dystopia I'm going to do it. And I don't really make it be a bother to me. I realize I enjoy reading a lot more when I stop forcing myself into a reading schedule. My TBR is more of a suggestion. Let's get into that. For everybody that don't know what a TBR is, it's meant to be read. So because my TBR and I have a very complicated relationship, as a matter of fact, it's very toxic because I barely deal with it and it barely deal with me. I'm always putting more stuff onto it than actually reading from it or taking from it. Do I create a TBR list? Of course. Do I follow them? Absolutely not. Honestly, I've stopped feeling guilty about it. There are simply too many good books in the world to force myself to read something I'm not excited about. My TBR exists solely to give me options. It's not a rule book. One thing I've completely changed in my reading life is my Kindle. I still love physical books. I still love seeing books on shelves. I love seeing pretty spray back. I just love seeing how beautiful it looks to be holding a book and smelling a book. You know, that book smell, book convenience. The Kindle wins all the time. I have a Kindle itself and I have Kindle app on all of my devices that I do have. So being able to carry around 100 books with me is a game changer. And because I'm a mood reader, I love having options available at all times. I can switch the genre instantly without having to leave my house or wait for a delivery. Honestly, my Kindle has probably made me read more than anything else. And I do love anything in an e-reader also. So ebooks are my go-to at this point in time. I'm no longer afraid to DNF. This may be one of the biggest change in my reading habits. I used to force myself to finish books because I grew up reading books for classes. So, I have to finish reading your books to also understand what is going to be on your exams. So with that mindset, I'm always trying to finish my book, even when I'm not enjoying it, even when it's boring, even when it starts to become homework. I legit was forcing myself to read it. No, if a book isn't working for me, I just put it down. I remember the last book I DNF was like The Secret Lives of Church Girls. I didn't know what was going on in that book and it didn't work for me. I left it. Life is too short. My TBR list is so long and there are too many amazing books waiting for me to be read. That doesn't mean that every book needs to be perfect either. But I don't want to be dreading every time I'm picking up this book. It's probably time to move on from all of that. Release yourself from that kind of captivity that you have placed on yourself. Do I read multiple books at once? The answer is sometimes and hardly ever. I'm in a book club right now. So maybe I will take the chance of reading the chapters that I need to and go on to reading another book in between that. But normally I try to finish reading all the books that I'm reading at once and then move on to a next. I am not in the business of trying to read more than one book. I would actually ask you how you do it of reading you 5 books and teach me ways, but I don't want to learn that way. I honestly don't. My reading taste is evolving, and that's the best part about reading. That is one of the reasons why I don't get upset when people opinions are different from everyone else, because everybody has a different reading taste, and wherever they are in their cycle of evolution of their reading journey, it's going to look a little bit different. The books I definitely wouldn't enjoy a couple years ago, I would be reading them now and definitely enjoying. I added more black romance, more urban romance to my reading journey. I really dig it. Not to say whatever I was reading mainstream books before, I'm reading self-published works. No, it's a lovely journey. Books that doesn't have to be universally loved for me. I enjoy it. And a popular book doesn't automatically deserve a 5 star for me. I've read popular books and they are like a mid 3. How do I handle the reading slump? This is something that I've had to go through recently. So let's talk about it. Because they happen to the best of us, when I find myself in a slump, the worst thing I can do is to pressure myself. The moment reading starts to feel like an obligation, I know I need to take a step back. Sometimes I switch genres. I listen to audiobooks, and if those are not working, I watch book content about reading, so people recommending and stuff like that. And sometimes when none of that is working, I just take a break. I think readers forget that it's okay to not read for a little while. The books will still be there when you're ready. And to learn the hard way, I just had to take a break. Whatever obligations that I had was only for my book clubs that I was reading. And that's it. And it took a hard time. It took a month to read one book. So I do understand. What matters most to me now is that there's one thing that I've learned about reading is that reading is supposed to be enjoyable, not stressful, not something you do to impress other people. I don't care how many books someone reads in a month, as long as they're reading and enjoying it. I don't care whether they're reading physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks. It is count as a read for me. You're reading regardless of the method. What matters to me is you're reading stories you enjoy. And that what keeps me coming back to books years after years. Those are my current reading habits. Now I want to hear from you. Are you a mood reader or a strict TBR reader? And what is one reading habit you have changed over the years? Let me know, because I've always been fascinated how different readers approach books. So thanks for spending some time with me here on Book with Kiva. If you enjoyed today's episodes, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with a fellow reader. Until next time, happy reading, stay booked.